Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories. I'm so glad that you're here. Today on the podcast, I speak with Orazie Cook. Orazie started a nonprofit called Praline's Backyard Foundation. She named it after her sweet puppy, and she works with domestic abuse victims and finds shelters and fosters for their pets so that they can get out of dangerous situations. This organization stood out to me because it's something I had not ever thought about before. If you don't know anybody in that kind of situation or you're not exposed to that, it's not something that you think about. And so Orazie's working with people all over the United States to help take care of pets so that people can get out of these situations that they need to. Our word of the week this week
It's the word of the week.
is patience. Orazie told a story about someone who wanted to foster a pet for a victim, and they weren't sure if they could do it or not. And it was a struggle to get settled with this little pet. And one of the things she told him was that he needed to have patience. You know, the pets that are living in homes with domestic violence, they still are aware of the trauma. They take on some of that. And so I can imagine it would take patience for these animals to go into new environments with new people away from their owners, not knowing what's going on. But patience for everybody involved in these situations is a good thing. I hope you will listen and be encouraged and maybe join her $5 a month campaign and help out as much as you can. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. But I talk to people every week who are helping others, and I like finding unique ways people are doing things. And I have never, I've spoken with someone who works with domestic abuse victims, but your organization is very unique. And it's something I never would have thought about, but it makes perfect sense. So tell me why you started Praline's Backyard Foundation. Tell me why you started it and how you started it.
Okay, let's see. Well, my mom gave us, my brother and I, just a thing about always volunteering and giving back.
Mhm.
And then one thing something that's very important to me is domestic violence, because unfortunately I had a lived experience of domestic violence in my household growing up. So when I went to college, I volunteered at a helpline. I later on graduated from college. I volunteered at a domestic violence center. And at that center, I was first introduced to the idea that survivors would go back, and this is a women's shelter at the time. They would go
Mhm.
back to the home of their abuser because their pet was there. And I
Right.
really, it was like, it was crazy to me. I mean, not crazy to me. It was just like, why is that happening? Like, that's not a good thing. Like, can we get the pets? Like, somehow, I didn't know, I didn't have the tools or the resources in my mind to know like what to do, but I knew
Right.
that they didn't want to go back. They just wanted to be with their pet. They just wanted comfort. I knew that was
Yeah.
something in that I didn't know how to grasp. Then I went on to volunteer at the Humane Society up until COVID. And I would see another situation where survivors would come and relinquish ownership of their pet because they were going into a housing situation that did not allow for
Right.
pets. Which, that was a responsible thing to do. If you're going into a
Right.
situation, you don't want to just like leave your pet, you want to give it to someone else to take care of, which is very responsible. But I was like, still, that's not what they want to do. They just having this housing transition issue. They need support during this time, and they want their
Right.
pet back, but they just can't have them. And so I had also was starting a business at the same time. I was having this experience, and COVID happened, and I just had that moment of just like, what do I want to do in my life? I want to do something more
Right.
impactful. I want to just like, life's gotta be more than this. And so I started a business, and I was like, I knew as part of my business, I have a dog walking business here in Atlanta, but the next expansion of that was to be a physical building. And
Right.
so part of that physical building, I was going to reserve a couple of kennels for pets of survivors because I knew, because I still had friends in this space, I knew the situation was still existing. And I knew that we've come a long way since 20 years ago. Like some shelters will provide accommodations, some shelters will they'll do different things, but
Yeah.
there's not a consistent method to assist survivors with pets coming into a sheltering environment.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I'm going to do this part for my part of my business. I'm going to house survivors' pets. And then I just shared it on social media as I was growing my business, and it just took a life of its own. And then I never planned to have another business because a nonprofit is another business. But
Right.
people said you should get a nonprofit because people give you donations and you get more support and this, that, and the other. And so then my business was obviously there, but then I had a whole other business establishing a
Yeah.
nonprofit. And so that's how I got into doing that. And then my business expansion did not go as planned. We ended up not getting a physical building, but I said, I'm still want to help housing pets of survivors. And I was always taught, my pastor used to say, many hands make light work, invite people
Mhm.
in to help you. And so I said, well, there are lots of pet boarding facilities across the country, right? So
Yeah.
maybe I can work in partnership with them to house survivors' pets. And so I started sharing that story. I started inviting shelters, or not shelters, pet boarding facilities to join in and partner with us, either by discounting the housing for the pet or giving it
Right.
to us for free, just whatever they're able to do.
Yeah.
And then I started asking for fosters for the longer term. It just continued to unfold.
Yeah.
I couldn't say, I did not start off saying that I wanted to have a national nonprofit, but I
Right.
started off with saying I had this dog walking business, I want to grow it, and I want to just part of my business plan on the side, on my little side gig, I want to just
Right.
help survivors. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of how it came to happen.
I love it. I love it. And it just amazed me because it's something you don't think about is, when these women that need to get out of these situations, I can understand why the pet would be an issue for them, not wanting to get or not wanting to leave. That it makes sense to me. And so you are working with shelters all over the United States?
Yeah, we work with, I say work in partnership, in terms of it's like some areas, like we'll say Atlanta, we have a couple of shelters here in Georgia. Well, I know Atlanta, in Georgia.
Yeah.
Some of them, maybe I think one of them has housing on site for pets, and they're always full, right? And so
Right.
as far as supplementing that, because they only have so many spots for survivors with pets, it's just because they can't have a whole shelter full of animals. And I told people to explain that too. Some survivors have had their abuser use pets, specifically dogs, as a
Right.
means of threatening. So sometimes survivors are afraid of dogs. So you can't bring someone into an environment.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you don't want to re-trigger you don't want to re-trigger a person in terms of having
Right.
that's recovering from that level of abuse.
Sure.
And so shelters struggle with that and how to really, incorporate and support survivors with pets. Sometimes they'll do it off-site. They'll do different things to address those concerns. However, they're always full shelters that are pet friendly. And then we recognize less than 20% of survivors, less 20% of shelters in the US are pet friendly. And I
Yeah.
always remind people that in addition to survivors, we recognize that people go into homelessness for a number of different reasons that
Yeah.
require sheltering environments, and they still have pets. And they're
Yeah.
just going through a housing situation that does not accommodate for pets. So
Yeah. So how does this work when someone how does it work? How do people find out about you, women who need to get out of situations and have pets, and how does it work?
okay, definitely. So we go to our website. They can obviously call. They'll reach out to us through the American Red Cross. Can reach out to us. A
Uh-huh.
domestic violence shelter who may not be pet friendly, they'll reach out to us to say we have a
Okay.
survivor. Can you assist? And we can provide assistance in that nature. If you're a survivor and you're reaching out to us, we have a link on our website that says for survivors. We ask you to fill that application out. Tell us everything about your pet because we want to make sure that we're able to match your pet with the appropriate foster. If you're
Right.
ready to leave your abuse situation today, we say we'll arrange for that pet to be taken to a pet boarding facility. You can choose it, or we can find one for you that you feel comfortable taking your pet to. We will
Yeah.
house that pet for 7 days at that pet boarding facility. During those 7 days, we are doing emails, newsletters, social media posts, trying to find you a foster for up to 6 months or whatever
Wow.
that looks like for you. Maybe you're saying you only need a month while you just get the situation going under control or find a safe place or whatever the person's situation is. Each
Yeah.
person's situation is different, but we'll support the survivor for up to 6 months with housing their pet.
That is wonderful. I love that. How so you are funded by donations, people all
It's about
donations?
95% donations.
Wow.
We have a $5 campaign going on now. We want people to donate monthly $5. We want 200 people to donate, and it gives us a budget of about 20,000 to
Yeah.
just house pets of survivors, and then to pay for an executive director, which I plan to hire at the end of this year, excuse me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's it.
That is awesome. Do you do any kind of big fundraisers during the year, or is it just yeah.
We just had our major fundraiser in May. We had a pause for domestic violence where we had people come and they got to do a 3K with their dog. And on the route of that 3K, they got to do different agility, different activities with their dog, just to demonstrate the bond that people have with their
Right.
pet. And
Yeah.
typically we had dogs for this occasion, but really just to show when we have experience with our dogs, it bonds them to us and us to them. And we want to
Right.
see that individually. Like you have a dog, I have a dog. It's like I mean, she's like a child to me in the sense of
Yeah.
like in terms of that love relationship. And and they're always happy to see you. Sometimes your kids not happy to see you when you come home. But your dog is always happy to see you when
Yes.
you come. You are the highlight of their day. And that just feels good, right?
Right.
So imagine having a survivor, they're taken out of their home situation because they're trying to get away from this abuser and they've left their pet with this abuser. And we don't know how that abuser is going to react to that survivor being gone. They
Right.
can be threatening to that pet. They can get rid of that pet. They can be really harmful to that pet. And that survivor is thinking about that. They're
Yeah.
having all those thoughts and worrying about that pet. And it really hinders their ability to heal and recover as they've
Yeah.
left that situation. And so we really want to encourage the healing for that survivor by making sure when they leave that situation, they're able to take their pets with them.
Right. What do you wish some people knew, like people that are not exposed to domestic abuse or they don't know anybody that's been through that? What do you wish people understood about those kind of situations as you've had to work with people through this?
That it happens in every demographic, every socioeconomic status. It happens up and down the spectrum. It doesn't have a look to it. There is not like, oh, that person like, and I would say people say that they don't. 1 in 3 people have experienced domestic violence. So that means
Wow.
if you know 3 people, or I'll say 10 people, one of them have
Right.
experienced domestic violence. You don't know that because we don't all tell our personal stories.
Right.
So just know that that's the case. And if we say 1 of 10 of your friends have experienced domestic violence, I'm going to tell you 1 in 20 of your friends had as a domestic violence survivor and they had a pet. Because
Yeah.
don't have half of all households in the US has a pet. And so
Right.
1 in 3 households, 1 in 3 people have experienced domestic violence. We know one of them have had a pet too. And so it's a
Right.
very high number as you continue to do the data.
It is a very high number. It's awful. What is something that is there a moment that has stood out to you, like someone special that you worked with, or something, a special moment that's happened since you started this?
Well, it's all the time, honestly, but I'll say just last weekend we had 2 cats with a law student in New York, and initially, because what we do is we put out a word on social media, we send out emails saying we need a foster. This is the situation. We have
Right.
cats, dog. I have like some ferrets. I'm trying to find a foster for now,
Oh
but
wow.
just different situations, and we'll just share that out on social media looking for
Yeah.
someone. And so we got a survivor in New York, and we had and the law student said, well, I never fostered before. I've never had a cat, but I really wanted to have a cat. And so I'm like, well, this is a great opportunity, right? Just
Yeah.
to test out a cat. And so just working with him and just educating him about cat behavior, because one thing I'll tell our fosters is when you get a pet out of a domestic violence situation, those pets may not be as eager to engage with you
Right.
as you may want them to be, right? And
Mhm.
so they have experienced trauma as well. They're being traumatized right now because they're not with their primary caregiver. They're in a foreign environment, which is you, and we know you're there to protect them, but they don't necessarily know that they don't know who you are. And so you have
Yeah.
to be patient with that pet. And so this particular foster was like, he was really worried. Like every day he was like sending me texts, calling me, but I just had to calm him down. And so, but then we just recently, he's had the cats for like 4 months and they were like his babies. He was like, oh, he was like he was like glad the survivor was ready to get them back, but like, oh, like yeah,
Yeah.
but now you know that you're able to take care of cats, and now you can go adopt a
Yes.
cat at your local humane society. So that was a
Yes.
really cute story in the sense of like he definitely he answered the call to volunteer, but he was still a little hesitant and just like really walking him through that and really seeing him and seeing him rather grow to love these and care for these cats. And that reassures
Yeah.
the survivor. Because one thing we do as
Sure.
well when a pet is with a survivor, we'll continually update. So when a pet is with a foster, excuse me, we'll
Right.
continue to update the survivor on that pet. We'll
Oh,
send
that's
them
good.
pictures. We'll let them know what's going on because it encourages them, let them know, they're
Yes.
doing good. You want to see your pets doing well. You want to see someone else taking care of them and know that
Sure.
they love them, like they're giving them love in the interim while you can't be there for them. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. What is your favorite thing about what you're doing?
Being able to help someone else, being able to help
Yeah.
somebody make that decision, really decreasing that barrier for a survivor. Because my thing is, survivors stay in abusive relationships for a number of different reasons, but I
Yeah.
don't want that reason to be because they lack housing for their pet.
Yeah.
And then what I tell people all the time, people call us or email me or contact me in different means every day. What they're trying to figure out is what resources are available to them when they're ready to leave. Because
Yeah.
most people I rarely get a raw phone call like I'm ready to go now. Can you help me? It's more so like I'm thinking about leaving and I'm
Right.
going through this. Like what support is there for my pet? And so it's like really seeing somebody work through that and making that decision to leave. And because one thing about somebody working through that decision to leave, they're more apt not to go back. So you want to help
Right.
just let them know the resources are there. So people if more people just realize what resources are available to them, and that's in every aspect of our lives, we would make other decisions. And so my
Yeah.
goal is to educate 10 million people about the barriers survivors experience. And I
Yeah.
tell people that 10 million represents the 10 million people who experience domestic violence each year in the United States. That's just in
Wow.
the US. And that number is too high, right?
Mhm.
And so if we all knew that, and we knew the impact that pets had in those situations,
Yeah.
then we can make better and make more informed decisions and make better resources to support survivors.
I love that. Yes. You know, all the people that I've talked to that have had nonprofits, some people work for them, some people have started them. And what always amazes me is how they're all run with volunteers. I volunteer at our local pregnancy center, and I mean, we have a ton of volunteers, but that's how, it keeps it going. And so I appreciate people who are helping and fostering and doing those things, because it's important. You need those people. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I love that people are stepping up to do that. I know Praline, that's the name of your dog, right? That's the name of your
Correct.
puppy.
It is.
That's
It
what you
is.
named it after.
She just got her nails clipped, and so she was just
Oh,
walking, so I could hear her behind me.
oh. I appreciate you talking to me. I really was excited to talk to you about this because I think it's very unique and it's so important. It's something I just have never thought about. So,
Okay, well, I'll also add to your audience, just so I want to encourage everyone to go to any of our social media links at
yes,
Praline's Backyard, and definitely follow, like, and share. I just hope you definitely welcome to join our $5 a month donation campaign. However, if
sure.
you're not able to do that, definitely follow, like, and share to help us raise awareness and to reach someone who can donate to support us at the same time.
Absolutely. And I will make sure I have all your sites on when I post this on social media and on YouTube and everything. So
Okay,
make sure I
awesome.
point people to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.